this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. And in this video, I'm going to talk about naming patterns, and in particular, naming patterns that I found in the Langford family in my search for Darthula Ross. So naming patterns are very interesting, and they vary a little bit from one location to another and one culture to another. For example, the naming pattern in Brazil, you often give a child the surnames of both parents. And so once you see a child's name, you can kind of discern who the parents are based on their surname, the surnames being included. There are, of course, exceptions. And so in Brazil, if you're doing your family history research and a child doesn't have two surnames, that may be a question of something being different. Southern ancestors of the United States usually follow naming patterns found in England. And there are some really good Family Search Wiki articles that kind of go over this. So if we look at the article, there's a lot of information about names and naming patterns. And there's a paragraph here that I also included in my blog article about the usual British naming convention. So for example, the first son would be named after the paternal grandfather, the second son named after the maternal grandfather. So if you kind of understand this pattern, then it may give you some clues of where to look for next in your family history research. The article also has some additional resources that you can use to look at names and what they might mean. So going back to Darthula, I looked at the Langford family, and there seems to be a custom or pattern to use D names that start with the letter D. So just in the William Langford family, we have three. We have Drusilla, who's the wife, Drayton, who's a son, and Darthula, who's a daughter. And it just seems to stand out that there are unusual D names. And these D names show up in extended family members, in particular the Waits family. And so it's possible that these D names are really connected to the Waite family. And I kind of list some examples here of how unusual D names just seem to show up regularly. But there is one family member that names a child Darthula, and that's Silas K. Waits. He names a daughter Alectha Darthula Waits, which I think is just another unusual name. So, your family may or may not follow a particular naming pattern, or they may follow it but have exceptions. So the Waite family does not strictly follow the naming pattern from England, but they do seem to name children in honor of other family members. Drayton appears several times, so that name appears to be important. And Darthula shows up only once, but it is another unusual name. And so this makes me think that there is a connection between Darthula and maybe Darthula Ross and the Waite family. And so it kind of lends evidence or suggests that there's a connection, and that the DNA research that I'm doing to try to understand my DNA matches may be legitimate. So the name Darthula is a rare American name. It's a variant of Darthula and may have come from a Scottish poem by James Macpherson titled Darthula, and I have a link to that in my blog article. The name may be Gaelic in origin and means beautiful eyes. There are a bunch of variations that I kind of came up as possible nicknames, and so when I'm looking through records, if I see a Ross or Langford with these nicknames, that could be my Darthula. So these are the nicknames I came up with: Darthulia, Dorothy, Dora, Dolly, Dortha or Dorothy, Dodie, Dorothea, Dorrit, Dodie, and Doretta. Now, that doesn't mean I will find records with these nicknames, but it is possible. It's interesting, and it's always worthwhile looking at naming patterns when you're researching your family for possible clues. So if you would like more information and the links to the Family Search Wiki articles, you can look at my blog article, Naming Patterns, The Search for Darthula Ross, Part 7. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.